Hello, everyone, or should I say, bum 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 bum. Okay, so today we are making the home of Headmaster Merle Ambrose from MMORPG Wizard 101. Very exciting. Drop a comment below if you currently play or have played Wizard 101. I played back in the day when I was in like middle/high school, and recently had a resurgence and found out the game is still really going strong. It recently had a graphical update for Wizard City, and I think maybe the character models are new. Actually, I'm almost certain they are. But essentially, recently got back into it, have been having a lot of fun. I've also been very busy, hence the long gap between the last video and this one. But here we are, back with another one, and this, as I mentioned, is the home of the headmaster of the Ravenwood School of Magic in Wizard City. I did make a Ambrose sim, or I should say an Ambrose sim, if I want to be grammatically correct. And he is going to be featured in some of the cinematic stuff that I will film for this. But essentially, this is his house. Did a pretty good job of trying to recreate, not necessarily the same scale, because if you've played Wizard 101, you know that the buildings are way larger on the inside than they would appear on the outside. So I tried to do my best to make it sort of a mix of the two. So it looks, excuse me, pretty well accurate from the outside. And Merle's office also, I tried to do a pretty good job of doing a scale for scale recreation. The spiral room in the tower is a lot smaller than it is in Wizard 101, just because if I made it as large internally as it is in the game, it would not have worked externally in The Sims 4. Or at least, it wouldn't have worked in a way to where the proportions would have made sense. So, anyway, here you can see I'm trying to figure out the roof, which I pretty much did figure it out. They actually had pretty much the perfect red roof color to match what the roof of Merle's house looks like. And then I went ahead and did a little bit of play testing, which you'll see later. But essentially, we're going in now, and we are using... I'm kind of trying to figure out how to do the front porch area, because it's like a rounded section that leads off into like the commons in the Wizard 101 game, and is sort of the door into his office. And then on the side, of course, we have like the side entrance that goes into the spiral model room where Gamma the owl hangs out. We thankfully have that owl object from, I guess it's actually Pets, that came in super handy. Now, looking back, it was probably in there as a teaser for Realm of Magic, but anyway, going around through the outside here, trying to rectify the fact that I wanted to have a little bit of a foundation, but also, well, I mean, you have to have a foundation because there's a staircase leading up to the door, but then the rest of the house, it means pretty much has to have a foundation to do that, unless I did like a thing where I put different foundations, at least, I think it's one tile away, and then connected them with stairs, but it wasn't going to work. And thank God we have trim in The Sims 4, because there is trim on the house in Wizard 101. And pretty much outside, I'm just kind of playing around, trying to get the proportions right. Thankfully, it didn't take too much. Of course, it's hard to tell sped up. I think the outside took me about an hour, maybe more. Would have taken probably less time if I already knew exactly which windows I wanted, and if I had chosen precisely which kind of brick texture. I ended up using this one from Cottage Living. I think that worked out pretty well. Then we had some back and forth with me internally, trying to figure out how to add these arched windows, because they're like a very specific kind of arched window. In Wizard 101, they've got like the spiral in the top of the window. We don't really have that in The Sims, and I couldn't figure out like a nice way to layer windows to get it to look like that. But I did end up pretty well emulating the outside almost exactly. We've got the same fence around the grounds. We have, later I'll add in the pathway. I did do this based on the new version after the recent graphical update. Recent being, it could have been as far back as 2018 for all I know. It's new to me. Probably old hat for people who are new to the game or have been playing for, a consecutive period, unlike myself. But it's not too different, all things considered, from the legacy version. Is that what they call it? I don't know. Should have checked, but could not be bothered. But here I'm fighting with the front porch because I want the rounded front porch so bad, and I want to be able to use spandrels, and it keeps taking away walls. It's a big pain in the butt. But anyway, adding flags now to the top. On the parts that have flags, it's pretty much the top of the tower and then the two little bump outs at the front, which the house doesn't make a ton of sense. In Wizard 101, I'm realizing I pretty much had to just make up rooms. I'm sure that in actuality, there's probably some kind of door that leads to those little bump out rooms. In order for it to work in The Sims, I ended up having to make like hidden bookcase doors, which simply do not exist in the Wizard 101 version. Totally fine. No one's worried about it, least of all me. But also, this is my build, so I realized I can do whatever I want. Here I am trying to figure out how we're going to do the gate. I ended up doing a debug object from Cats and Dogs. Well, debug meaning live edit, but it gets here eventually. I played with so many different arches. Here we go. This is what I ended up using. So it does have a dog and a cat on it. We'll just pretend it doesn't. And then I had to figure out how to make the gate itself work. I kind of did a thing where you take a wall and make it diagonal and leave a gate there so it looks like an open gate. Hold on, I'm going to take a drink of water. Because I'm going to need a drink of water because this is, I think, sped up at least 30 minutes. Here we're trying to figure out how to do the Ravenwood banners. I ended up doing the cottage living pennant flag thing because it's like the same shape and pretty much the same shade of red as the Ravenwood banner. It does have fruits and veggies on it instead of the magic tree. But otherwise, it's pretty good. You'll see that gets repeated a lot in this build. Here I am trying to swap out windows, trying to decide if I like these windows better, because the vibe of these is a lot more like the ones we have in Wizard 101. But like the shape and like the little keystone at the top is not really exactly what we want. I mean, there is a keystone. I don't know. Either way, here I am doing landscaping. The landscaping, thank God, in Wizard 101 is very simple. I don't think he even used to have like little bushes and stuff outside the house. I did put some like flanking hedges around the house, which I don't think are a thing in the game. I played it today. I should remember, but I don't. But either way, just like simple little flower bushes. And here we are going inside to his study. And I took like some reference pictures in the game and got like a pretty close match for the red wallpaper that he has in his office. I think I ended up using the one from Vampires for a little bit, and then I ended up swapping it out for something else that I liked a little better. And we don't really have the exact same columns that are all around the room either, but I did pretty well. I mean, you'll see I use one kind of column and then I use a different one later because I was indecisive. But here we are trying to decide the flooring, and then I realized I have to use alternating tiles of marble because of the scale in the game. But it worked. I mean, you do like this chessboard thing, and that's pretty much his floor. And then I had to remind myself what the floor in the other rooms looked like. It turns out it's stone, at least in the spiral model room where Gamma hangs out. And then I fought a little more with having like a step down into the room. Ended up doing away with that. But, I played around with the roof a little more, tried to hide the edges, make it look nice and smooth for you guys. Assuming you would like to download it. It's very specific. It is cute. And I will say that like the rooms outside of the ones that we explicitly see in the game are very much like more cluttered than they certainly would ever be in Wizard 101. They're definitely more my style than the style of the game, but they are fun and they are cute. This ends up having the big office space. There's a big bedroom / lounge area upstairs. There's a kitchen and a bathroom and like a potion room and also like a little like sort of portrait gallery brewing room that you could turn into something else. Admittedly, I just needed to have a way for him to get upstairs and ended up having to do a ladder out of the kitchen, which you'll see later. Here we are putting in a big portrait. We, of course, do not have a portrait of a wizard in The Sims 4, or at least not a wizard that looks like Merle Ambrose, who pretty much looks like, Dumbledore or Merlin. So we have this lady, which we might end up getting a better poster once those Grim Reaper rewards are done. Reaper's rewards. They are bugged, though, in that, maybe, I guess bugged is not the correct word, but people who are like myself and have like Better Build By and the Tool Mod and maybe MC Command Center, the UI just does not work if you have those installed, which is a big bummer. But here we are. I'm putting a rug in here. I'm putting in the spell book. And then I did like a little thing later you'll see where I try to make like his like seeing orb that's always hanging out next to where he stands. Actually had a lot of fun trying to like recreate this with what we had in The Sims. We had a lot of stuff that was similar enough that it worked pretty well. Like these big potted plants. And then this door, I think in the game they must be trying to imply that like this door goes off to the rest of his house and maybe to those bump outs. I don't really know how that makes sense, but it's blocked with books and whatnot. So I blocked it with books and whatnot here too. And then I had to do a lot of tool mod placement for pillars in this build that you'll see. That's the first one. And those pillars actually end up getting swapped out for something else. But now I think this is where I tried to build the orb. Yes, it is. So I pretty much did like, it was like a fence post and the crystal ball object from paranormal stuff. And then I don't remember what it was that I used for the stand. I think, was it the book stand? Oh, it was. And then I turned it upside down so I could have that 3-pronged support for the crystal ball stand. Then this side of the room is a little not exactly correct because with where the tower is connecting to the rest of the building, the door pretty much had to go there, the double door, and I wanted it to be a double door. I was not willing to make it a single door. So the door kind of got moved a little further down the wall, so that corner is a little smushed as opposed to how it is in the MMORPG. But, it's, I think, common knowledge at this point that we can't really recreate things scale for scale in The Sims unless it's like from another Sims game. And even then, it's not, guaranteed. But either way, these are the bookshelf items from the Book Nook kit, the empty ones. I ended up putting them around the room to sort of create this like divider thing that we see in Wizard 101, which I couldn't really figure out a better way to emulate. This does work. It's not my favorite, but it's not the worst thing I could have done. And I tried to make sure all of the ceilings looked like wood. And eventually you'll see both in this room and in the spiral room, I tried to put in like roof beams with those beam objects from Cottage Living, and it was successful. I did it. This table that you just see me put down, I end up moving away. But here is the room where that like model of the spiral universe in Wizard 101 is. And I did, I think, a pretty good job of trying to recreate it. We have those like glowing objects, the little sparklies from Realm of Magic that I end up using to make look like the little sparklies that hang. And then I ended up using spandrels to create like the support structure for that like rotating crystal that they have in the game. You'll see that I ended up using a light from Realm of Magic for that, as well as just like a crystal object from, if not from Crystal Creations, it's like a crystal from the base game. This room did give me some grief. To be fair, it's a very specific kind of room. Very funky. Here you can see I almost used this ceiling fan for the crystal, and then I ended up using this plum bob shaped crystal from, well, I guess it has to be from Crystal Creations because that's where we got the plum bob cut for gems, and I think gem cutting in general. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And then I hit a moonstone inside the plum bob crystal because the moonstone makes a sparkly sound like the crystal in Wizard 101 does when you're in live mode. Then this room, I had to fight with it because, well, one, I had to see if poor Merle could get in there. He could not. And it's because of all these levels that I put in this gosh darn opening of the building. The front door did not work. So I did away with the extra level really quick so he could get in. Then the crystal model room, I had to like do a thing where it was not level. It was like either down one click or up one click. I want to say down from ground level. So it was trying to make like these invisible wall divider things pop up. It was really weird. Anyway, here's me trying to build the spiral model. This is my first attempt that was not very good because, you know, it's a spiral. And I was trying to do like these interlocking circles. And like the idea was correct. I eventually got it. It just took me a little bit. So here's the first attempt that was not good because I was like, you know, making separate circles. And then I realized that it is in fact like one spiral that spirals out from the center. So I ended up eventually figuring it out. Eventually you'll see me put down like a rug for a template to do that. But here's the test footage just so you can kind of see the trial and error I go through when I build things. But this did not work. And of course it didn't work because I didn't like go look at it in the game. I just thought that I could remember it. And I did not remember it very well. I eventually figured it out. But then you can see I get rid of these objects. But first, of course, I try to like put them somewhere else to like make a different shape. I didn't realize I had left in as much of this footage. But, you know, it's okay. I actually thought I had cut a lot of it out, but yeah, turn on some tunes. If you need to get a little work done, do some chores around the house, this is here for you. This is 30 minutes of building. I wonder how long it takes me to realize that this is not the vibe. I probably had to like pause and go into the game and then look again, honestly, because I really played around with these little things a lot, these little sparklies. I figured out the best way was to lay them all out in a spiral first, flat on the ground, and then move them with the tool mod, which is what I eventually end up doing. Here we go. This is when I finally, pardon my French, but when I finally get my shit together. This is not a family-friendly channel, even though I'm building something from a family-friendly game. Regardless, here we are. I am going in and using this rug as a template. I ended up using a bigger rug eventually, and I think the version that I end up putting in the actual build is not the same as this. Here we go. This is pretty close because I realized I had to make it way larger than I anticipated, and this version here I don't even end up putting in the build. I ended up doing a different one, and I think the angle isn't quite right. If I had the chance, I probably would have angled it again. Ooh, angle it again. yeah, it needs to be angled a little differently, but we did what we could. Sorry, I had to stop recording for a little bit because my cat threw up. Had to go clean that up. I think she is okay, but she is getting a little older, so I fret over her. Anyway, back to the build. So here we are. I am going in and layering this gold filigree object from Get Famous on top of this red rug. I end up doing this rug in 2 different rooms in the build. Ooh, apologies. I was put a little off guard there by the cat having her episode. Anyway, here we are. I'm moving the Gamma owl stand over, and here we are putting in the support beams for this room. I ended up making pretty good use of the tool mod here, where I cloned this, moved it, cloned it, moved it again several times, and then ended up doing a thing which you'll see in a little bit, where I took all of them and I rotated them, and it worked. Hooray. So let's just watch here as I do that. But I think I'm finally figuring out how Tool works, which is great. Only took me a couple of months. Here we are. We're going to clone. We're going to rotate. Boom. It worked. Isn't that beautiful? I do the same thing downstairs, essentially. But I think I show that. Maybe I don't. I might have had plans to include it originally and then cut it out when I realized that if I did not, this build would be like an hour long. And while I'm sure there are people who would have watched it, I think that is too long. Regardless, here we're putting the quote-unquote Ravenwood banner up on the Gamma perch. And I think it's on the correct side of the room now. Nope, it's not. I have to move it. It'll get moved eventually. Then here I'm putting in some supports. They end up looking, in the actual game, they're like little, almost, what's the word? I should know. Finial. Like little finials coming off of support beams on the wall. That is not what these end up being, but they pretty much do the same job and serve the same purpose. And this whole room in the game is surrounded with bookshelves. So I tried to do that as well as I could and still have like the desk and like some of the clutter that's in this room. So we ended up using some tome objects as well as the new tome of the Green Lady or Green Lady's tome from the Reaper's Rewards event in the game, here in this game, in The Sims 4. And here I am putting this mirror on the roof. I don't know if this was originally part of the game prior to the graphical update, but essentially there's like a light shining in through a window in this room that bounces off of a mirror on the ceiling and then hits the crystal to cause the light. Here we are in the kitchen. This is where we go completely outside the realm of trying to recreate things from Wizard 101 because we don't know what these rooms are or what they look like. So I gave him a pretty cool kitchen. I would like to cook in this kitchen IRL if it were possible. If anybody wants to build me this kitchen, shoot me a DM. Can you do that on YouTube? I don't know. I have a business email. Listen, no one's going to build me a kitchen. I don't know why I'm being so serious about this. It's not happening. Anyway, here we are going in, making the kitchen. I wanted to use rounded cabinets. I used the Realm of Magic cabinets again. I just used them a lot. I think it's just because of my own proclivity and fondness for Art Nouveau, because that's kind of the style of the stuff in not in Wizard 101, in Realm of Magic for The Sims 4. But either way, I ended up cluttering with some of the herbology books from Outdoor Retreat, and I did the thing that I typically do now in my witch and wizard sort of builds, where I put a cauldron up on the stove. And I ended up using the Realm of Magic fridge, which I actually don't use all that much, but it seemed like it would work here. And I did a thing where, in order to offset the counters and have like the two stoves centered, I knew I wanted like that curved bit of the counter in the corners. So I like took the two counters and made them like 0.99 of their size so that it wouldn't clip when the camera moved around and flicker. And then here I am putting in the cabinets. This is pretty close to the kitchen that is in the final version. I think something happened where the game crashed, actually, where this whole kitchen got lost. I had to redo it, but thankfully it was right after I built it, so I pretty much remembered everything I put in there. But it's got a frog, it's got a spooky spook, little specter guy from paranormal stuff hanging out in there. And then one of these counters ends up going away because I eventually realize, hey, there's a whole apps upstairs in this build that I have to create. So the stairs, and by stairs I mean ladder, ends up going into this room. But I had a lot of fun. It actually kind of made me think of things that I kind of want to do in my own kitchen in my apartment. So shout out to this build for helping me do that. Here you can see me redoing the desk in this room here, and I guess redoing the mirror too. So we've got a double clip here going on, but I'm not going to take it out. I'm not going to take it out because the way that I make these is that I take all the footage and I speed it up, and then I render a sped up version because my laptop is old enough, unfortunately, that I cannot record voiceover while I'm doing the editing. I have to speed it up first, record over the sped up version separate in Audacity, and then add the Audacity voiceover back in. And I simply refuse to have to redo any of the stuff that I've already done to speed up the footage. But here's the bathroom. I knew I wanted to do like a tiered thing with the tub. I kind of had the idea of doing like a lowered area, but this room is not big enough for that. And then I couldn't do it upstairs with the bed, even though that was my secondary idea, because it's upstairs. You can't do that. You can't have like a big dip in the floor on a second story. But I ended up using a lot of Realm of Magic. I ended up using my favorite tile from Vampires, and I think the vampire cabinets as well, because they have that fun green swatch that doesn't get used a lot. I might end up using that again in my Land of Oz series if I ever make the Emerald City, but that'll be a big one, and will probably take me several months. I have built the Emerald City, I think, at least twice. Not in The Sims 4. In The Sims 3, I built it once. In The Sims 2, I built it. I had a really elaborate version in The Sims 3 that I think is still on an old laptop somewhere. I would like to try to save it, but God, who knows? It's got so much CC in it, and I think the goal this time around would be to try to do it without CC if I can. There are certain things that are very specific that I just simply might need CC to do, but we'll see. Now we're going upstairs. This is where I decided, hey, he needs to be able to get upstairs. There's a hole upstairs. We can't leave it empty. So I did. I ended up putting the ladder, which you can see in the floor of this room. It comes up out of the corner of the kitchen where the trash can was. I just moved the trash can in one tile and got rid of the counter that was in that tile to make up space for the trash can. And here I ended up putting in another banner for the Ravenwood School, and I did sort of like the red and orange, red and yellow thing here. I did a fake carpet with this vampires carpet, and then I ended up layering more rugs in here. One of them I think is base game, the other one is from Strangerville. And then I put a portrait on either side of this room. It's a room. It's cute. It looks good. I think it fits the vibe. I don't know if it fits the specific vibe of Wizard 101 anymore, because like I said, all of these bonus rooms that we don't see in the Wizard 101 game are from my imagination. But maybe someone at King's Isle will see this, and they will reveal, hey, you had a good idea for these other rooms. I'm sure that will not happen, especially considering King's Isle, I think, is pretty family friendly, and I've already sworn 3 or 4 times in this voiceover. But King's Isle, if you want to connect with me, by all means, it would make my day. I really love Wizard 101. It got me through some rough times in my childhood, and now it's kind of getting me through adulthood a little bit when I have time to play, which is nice. And I will say kudos to you guys for adding some of the quality of life updates that are in the game now, like the teleportation kiosks in like the larger areas, so we're not just trekking. I appreciate that. But anyway, here we are. We are upstairs. This is going to be Merle's bedroom. I knew I wanted to use this galaxy light, so I did. And then I knew I also wanted to use the armillary sphere outdoor object as like a lamp overhead. So I did that, and I ended up making like a cool raised platform for the bed to go on. I put spandrels around it and some curtains eventually too. Not these particular curtains, but curtains nonetheless. Ended up doing, I think it's the Strangerville spandrel, that Victorian looking one, which I believe I also used in the Wicked dorm build. Every build is kind of just like things that I liked from other builds and want to use more at this point. I pretty much always put spandrels inside of rooms to add like architectural detail. Here we are trying to decide what kind of end of the bed object I'm going to have. I decided to do a chest. If we had something that was more like a hope chest in the game, I think that would be cool. But that's fine. I feel like a hope chest is a very specific thing. It maybe is just like an American thing, maybe even just a Midwest thing. I don't know. But it's like a chest that a lot of people have at the end of their bed, and people call it a hope chest. I'm going to probably end up Googling that now because I want to know. But we're putting in some end tables now, and then I had to decide what the back wall was going to be. I thought about putting in a window and then decided against it. I ended up just doing bookshelves. There's lots of bookshelves in here, but I feel like a good wizard needs lots of books. Do you agree? Comment below. Then I ended up reusing the orb lights that I used downstairs because there are orb lights in his office in Wizard 101, so I decided there was a different version of that up here. And then I ended up using the card catalog item, or like the apothecary cabinet thing, from Growing Together as a coffee table, because it is a coffee table, ladies and gents. I used it as a coffee table for real this time. I have hidden it in things before to make it look like extra drawers, but I did not do that this time around. And now we're going in and adding some stuff to the walls. And I ended up using, I think this is a swatch of the Vladdy Daddy painting, but it's like a vampire lady instead. I know some people make like custom art for The Sims 4 in a way to where it doesn't tag as CC. I'm not sure if that's still a thing. It might have been done away with. I think I might have recalled reading something that maybe it doesn't register like that anymore. But maybe somebody has a Merle Ambrose painting, in which case you can go grab that and stick it in this build if you would like. But we're getting close to the end. It's pretty much just me deciding what this last little bump out on the top is going to be. This is above the bathroom, and I ended up just making it sort of a generic potion room, and I put a lot of my favorite witchy items in. I put in the Crystal Creations china cabinet and the paranormal stuff shelf, the wall shelf with a little plant, Realm of Magic moon rug, some werewolf objects, some stuff from Crystal Creations, and also Bloomin' Rooms. Bloomin' Rooms, one of the best stuff packs if you want some plants in your build. But anyway, guys, we are pretty well moving into the end of the build. We're going to head into screenshots, maybe a little cinematic outro if I decide to do that for this one. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate you guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Vivius Silentium. Buddy. Quibate Flintus.